Greetings, friends. David J. Coon with Qigong Awareness, author of Qigong for Beginners, Your Path to Greater Health and Vitality. One slice of my consciousness dedicated to that book, many other books to come, so many teachings. Today, I am here to share with you some time, some energy, some space, challenging time out there in the world right now, people warring, people fighting. We call that realm, the gurus call that realm, they still call that realm duality, the idea of two, the idea of two-ness, black and white. Not necessarily races, although that's there too, but dark and night, soft versus hard, yin versus yang. It is the realm, boys and girls, of duality. Who is right? Who is wrong? Who's to blame, etc., etc. And it is the illusion, that's how it's often taught by the masters. There's this illusion or delusional idea that there is you, and then over here is me, myself, and I'm disconnected from you. And that kind of mentality has not only caused war on the planet for a long time and so on, and it's causing it today, currently as well. But it's also happening, it's happening globally. It's also happening in a neighborhood, somewhere near you, I'm sure. And it's happening in families and so on and so forth. I am here today to speak to the spiritual warriors, the light warriors, the beings, those of you who are drawn to this teaching, those of you who are drawn to the idea of inner peace, those of you that are drawn to the idea of healing work, bringing healing to yourself, bringing healing to other people, bringing healing to the planet. How does it get done? Well, there are many ways. But for the last, almost 40 years, I have been in an experiment of healing myself physically, healing myself emotionally, healing myself mentally. The emotional and the mental go hand in hand. And of course, that is intimate with the physical. And when you bring healing to the physical, and you bring healing to the emotional, and you bring healing to the mental, you awaken what? Somebody said it. I can hear you. Come on, there it is. You awaken the spiritual. Okay? And do you really awaken the spiritual in terms of the entirety of existence? Or is it that you awaken the spiritual inside yourself? You awaken the spiritual inside yourself. The spiritual is already awake out there, okay? But you awaken it inside yourself. And if and when you awaken it inside yourself, it will inevitably seep out into the world around you, into your friends, into your, into the vicinity of your family members, into your relationships, into your household, into your workplace, etc., etc., etc. So what does one need to do, so to speak, to get started on this path? Number one is you have to make healing a priority. And when we talk about healing, there's, if you go to the psychology professor, or you go to the psychologist or the psychiatrist or something, you're going to get a very specific perspective on healing. If you go to the medical doctor, you're going to get a specific perspective on healing. If you go to the massage therapist, you're going to get a specific perspective on healing, coming from different angles. One might focus more on the physical, one might focus more on the mental, one might focus more on the emotional, one might focus all on the spiritual and tell you to dismiss a little bit of the physical and dismiss a little bit of the emotional and dismiss a little bit of the mental. All right? Anyway, if you come see me, if you hang out with me in whatever capacity, I'm going to do all of the above all at the same time. Okay? Because all of these levels need to be addressed. If no one has ever told you before, I want you to know you are a metaphysical being. You are a multidimensional being. That means you have multiple dimensions to you. You're not just a 1 or 2 or 3-dimensional being. You're a multi-dimensional being. What does that mean? Well, you're a physical being, right? You have emotional capacity. That's another dimension. You have the capacity to mentally evaluate and judge and analyze what you're feeling. And what you're feeling can be called emotional, but it can also be called what? Physical, because you could say, I'm in pain, right? But technically all physical pain is also emotional pain. So if you've never heard that teaching before, it's just something to consider. And then we have the intellectual mind that evaluates and judges and analyzes and so on. So, and oftentimes you've heard me refer to that as ego, and other teachers refer to that as ego, or the monkey mind, okay, or the mind-body program. Different references like this, okay? And when you start to have the desire to know who you are beyond the physical, beyond the emotional pain, discomfort, confusion, anxiety, depression, when you desire to know yourself beyond the evaluation by your mind, ongoingly, about the physical aspect of you. I should be this, I should do this, I should get this job, I shouldn't have gotten that job, I should be in this relationship, I would have been in that relationship, my parents think that I should do this, but I did that, and on and on and on and on. Or the analyzing of the emotions that you feel. Well, I think my depression is from the sandwich that I ate last week. Or I think the depression is from that relationship that I had 10 years ago. Or I think my depression is, or I think my anxiety is because of. So again, all of this is the loop of the physical, the emotional, and the mental. And those are the first three chakras, by the way. If you've never heard me talk about that before either, or if you have, it's a reminder, okay? First three chakras. Until you master those to some degree, until you master your physical body, it's not enough for most people when I say master the physical body. It's not enough to get into bed in the morning, okay? That's great. It's a good start in the right direction. But mastering your body would be walking an hour every day. Mastering your body would be practicing Qigong 1, 2, 3, 5 times a week. Okay, mastering your body would be getting to the gym every other day. Mastering your body would be going out into nature and going, for a 5-mile hike or something, whatever. Okay, doing some push-ups, doing some sit-ups, going to work. But before you go to work, getting on your treadmill. Okay, anyway, these are ideas of mastering the physical. Okay. Mastering the emotional is using, for example, learning something like Qigong and using your breath to master your emotions so that you can push yourself a little further forward in your life in some cases, or just manage right where you are in other cases. Manage the mood that you're already in. Manage the changing dynamics that are happening in your life right where you are. That's the mastery over the emotional. If you're maybe somebody in your family is dying or passing away, or you're losing a loved one, maybe for some of you, you're pushing yourself because you're trying to get into a particular college, or you're trying to get a new job, or you're trying to push your career forward, whatever it is. You are going to be facing all kinds of emotional stuff, and learning how to use the mind, the higher mind, and learning how to use breath control, and learning how to use the movement of the physical body, like in a Qigong practice or a martial art practice or something, or a yogic practice, can help you master and manage that emotional body, that emotional state. Now we have some mastery over that second level, or that second dimension. Now, one of the other levels that gets in there and loves to make a lot of noise, the noisemaker of the ego, is that mental level with beliefs and concepts. About what? About life? Well, yeah, about everything. About your neighbor, your sister, your mother, your father, your friends, your enemies, whatever that looks like. But all of that evaluation is also about who? Guess who? It's about you. So all of that analyzing, all that judgment, all of that trying to figure things out and analyze everything. That is the ego. And the ego is looking and projecting its fears, its neuroses, its worries, its concerns onto other people. So, in other words, one example of this, because I've told you before, life is a mirror. So if you have a lot of anger issues, you're going to manifest around you people who make you angry, people who make you angry. You're going to manifest people who push your buttons because there are buttons there to be pushed. So what is the challenge of the practice with all of that, right? The challenge with the practice of all of that is to master the physical to some degree, which means go out for that bicycle ride, go for that walk, practice your Qigong. Why? Well, because you're going to need it later. Like, in other words, calm your blood pressure before the day even begins, because you're going to need some kind of movement in your body, and movement of blood and movement of breath and movement of the lymphatic system and so on is going to keep the body healthy. Because if the body's not healthy, you no longer have that first level of prosperity. Understand? The first level of prosperity is that your body has to be healthy. If your body's not healthy, you can't have other forms of prosperity. Even if you had a lot of money, it's sitting in the bank, your body's not healthy. It isn't going to do you any good, right? So mastering the physical body is very important. You got to get a head start on that. You have to integrate and bring in something like a practice, like I said, some form of exercise to master the physical body. And then mastering the emotional body, that takes some work. And it typically requires that you have some understanding of breath and breathing and managing your breath, which would be a practice like what? Again, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, martial art, meditation. Something that teaches you how to master your breath while simultaneously doing what? Focusing your what? Your attention. Because when the mind gets into its funks and it gets into its loops, okay, and the mind starts looping and analyzing, you have the whole system kind of going haywire. The physical doesn't feel good. You have weird aches and pains in the body and so on. You have anxiety in the belly, and then the mind is analyzing that and judging you and judging the body and talking about why things are not working out right and so on. If you are lost in that kind of stuff, please, please get involved in Qigong practice. Please go for a run. Please go to the gym, start lifting some weights or whatever you want to do there. Get on some kind of program, because if you're not doing that, then your life is going to be an ongoing mess. There really is no people who say, well, I hope next month things will be better or whatever. I don't want to be like a doomsday kind of person, but it's not going to get better. Why? Because you're not taking care of the root of the problem. The root of the problem begins in those chakra centers. Now, if we could get a handle on those energy centers, root chakra, navel center, solar plexus, if we could get a handle on that, which the large majority of people avoid, they just avoid it. They feel anxiety, they eat a sandwich. They feel depression, they take a pill. They have an ache in their belly, they go to the doctor and say, what's wrong with me? The doctor says, I can't find anything. And they eat another sandwich, okay? Like whatever the thing is. It becomes a vicious cycle. They drink alcohol, they smoke cigarettes. I mean, all the different things that we do to try and numb our pain, right? Because it doesn't really numb our pain, it just actually makes things worse, especially over time. So finding a better strategy, and getting yourself around more positive people, joining groups where people gather together and they get together around some positive activity, like, guess what? Practicing Qigong, like practicing meditation. Those of you who know me know I teach live seminars, I teach live webinars, I teach live weekly webinars where I'm teaching Qigong classes. You can engage a little, you can engage a lot. I teach lengthy certification programs. When you do things like this and you learn to master the root, the navel, the solar plexus, guess what you awaken? You awaken within your being the spiritual, the metaphysical, the higher level of feeling that goes beyond the body and goes beyond what you think of as the mind, the mind that's always thinking and chattering and so on. And when we begin to open up and we begin to awaken some of the higher centers, like the heart center, which is the next center up the ladder, okay? When we begin to open that center up, not only do we bring healing to our physical body, which those of you who know my story, that's exactly what happened to me. Not only do we bring healing to the physical body, we also bring a change in perception. What the heck does that mean? Some people know, some people don't. So let's dialogue it briefly. Perception is like how you view the world. How do you view it? How do you see it? The world is a scary place. It's frightening. Going to meet strangers is scary. I can't trust other people. Like whatever the thing is, whatever the perception is, right? That's one version of a perception. Many people have that level of perception to some degree on the planet. Then comes a higher level of perception when we reach the level of the heart. Because at the level of the heart, I recognize and realize when I see you and you're having a hard time in the grocery store, I recognize you as me. And I might say some prayerful intentions and say some words of kindness and compassion and have a moment perhaps of tolerance if I need to for something that you're struggling with. Maybe I'm waiting in line behind you and you're having a really hard time finding your money to pay for your groceries or whatever the thing is, and the clerk has to go to the back of the store, you know, and go get something for that person or whatever. Everybody's you. So in the heart-centered practices, which is the next level of the practice, you start practicing having kindness. You start practicing having compassion for other people. You start, again, putting forth prayer, putting forth intentions for those other people. And I'll tell you, from experience, at least my experience, the more you do that, the more you experience the unity between us, the united energy between us, the connection between us. And that connection that I opened up in my own heart allowed me not only to heal my spinal disease, it allowed me to heal the panic attacks that I was experiencing in my 20s when I was and even into my late 20s when I was in the process of healing my spine, but the doctors were saying your spine is crushing your lungs, starting to, and you know, in the next couple of years you're going to be fully crippled and so on and so forth. And meanwhile, I'm having these major panic attacks and so on. Those went away. The spinal disease went away, and I was left with a much less of an emotional bag of rubbish from my past, okay? So there's still work to be done. There'll be work to be done ongoing. And every day is another opportunity. But the difference between me then and me now is that I know that everybody's me. And so is it challenging to practice tolerance, compassion, kindness, focus on my inner peace rather than focusing on, like, really feel inner peace, really try and sink into it and feel some good energy? Is it hard and challenging to do that when certain things are showing up in my reality, whether it's on the TV, on the news, or whether it's in my personal life where somebody in my family is having a challenge or whatever, and they're really wrestling with sadness or anger or grief or whatever they're going through? Is it challenging to maintain a state of equanimity? Yeah. But that's the practice of meditation. That's the practice of alchemy. And I just described the first 4 levels and the first 4 dimensions for you. Master the physical, master the emotional, master the mental, There's different ways to do it, different ways to get at it, but I've hinted to some of it today. And if you do that and you keep gathering your energy and you keep harnessing your energy rather than dissipating it, which so many people do when the root and the navel center and the third chakra are having their way with you, and you're stuck in addictive relationships and you're stuck in addictions with drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, whatever, bad food, bad relationships, on and on, the list goes on. When you're stuck in all of that, it really, really deeply depletes your energy. And you cannot help but be in a state of like ongoing self-defense where you feel like you need to protect yourself. So if you're in that state and you're feeling like a victim, and you're feeling like sort of attacked by life, please come to Qigong class. Please practice meditation. Please get to the gym. Getting to the gym is good, but you also need meditation. You also need Qigong practice, because you have to get a handle on yourself. Because as I've mentioned in previous vlogs and teachings and seminars and in our certification program and so on, everything's law of attraction. Everything is. And so until you manage what's going on those lower levels, you can't do anything major, huge, fantastic. In general, I'll say it like that. A lot of people want to shortcut it with ayahuasca. They want to shortcut it with mushrooms or whatever the thing is. The problem with those things is that they don't last. It's not a lasting experience. You go have an experience, and then in order to have it again, you got to go take ayahuasca or you got to go take mushrooms. And personally, I don't prefer that lifestyle. When I was younger, I tried drugs, tried alcohol, tried mushrooms, tried LSD, did all those different things. I personally get much higher off of the Qigong practices, the yogic practices, and so on that I do, like pranayama breathing and so on, and meditation practices, than I ever did off of any of those drugs. And there's no hangover. So, and as you begin to awaken your awareness of being spirit, you also awaken your awareness that you're one with everybody, you're one with everything. It doesn't mean you don't forget it in moments, but overall you know it. Through and through, you know it. And when you really know it, then you can have a list of people, for example. It can be a small list or a long list. And little by little, at least in my experience, year after year after year, being known as a healer, being considered a healer, people asking me, how did you know that? How do you know that? How do you make me feel these experiences? How do I just don't even understand. How can you read my mind like that? How can you read my energy like that? How can you make that shift in my body? How did you know that I ate that kind of sandwich today, or that I drank too much coffee today? Like, how do you know that? And how did you know that my stomach just started growling when you're on the computer and I live in another country and you're talking to me on the computer and your eyes are closed? How do you know that? When the noise of the root chakra and the navel center chakra and the third chakra become more quiet, and you've cleared out the congestion that lives within those three chakras, and you begin to open the heart center. We all have a chest. There's a heart in there somewhere, and there's a heart chakra in there somewhere too. But the heart chakra in so many people, it's so quiet. And it was very, very quiet and very, very dormant in me for many years there. And I had no idea. But I remembered what a heart chakra is, and I became aware of what it is and what it feels like and so on when that opened back up. And in this world, and working in this world, and living in this world, and being in this world, but that's also why I created the profession that I do, and why I recommend everybody become a Qigong teacher, everybody become a spiritual teacher and a like medical Qigong practitioner, some type of healer, because in my experience, as I was able to heal myself and then pay that forward, and even before I healed myself, like already working with other people, already helping people who were further behind me and doing that quote unquote good karma, it all adds up to fuel you, your Qigong practice, your meditation practice, your going to the gym practice, your prayerful practice for other people. It all brings you together. It all brings a lot of energy together within your being. And that energy, that subtle energy, builds and builds. That chi, it builds and builds. And it begins to actually open the heart center, which is the beginning of the memory, the remembering that I am a spiritual being, that I am one with other people, that I am one with other things. And when that happens, you live life from a place of significantly less fear, and you live from a place of helpfulness, and you live from, as opposed to helplessness, you live from a place of helpfulness where you're helping other people, and you're giving to other people, and you're serving from other people, and you're not so afraid that you're going to run out of resources, money, time, energy, whatever, just all of it, because something starts flowing through you and it becomes stronger and it becomes greater. And the more you give it, the stronger it becomes, the more you feel it. And the more that you give it, the more that you feel it. And the more that you feel it, the more that you give it. And the more that you are not feeling it in a moment, the more that you want to get back to feeling it because it feels so good. Now, on the last note for today and now, okay, I can't save the world. Okay, I can't go over to Russia. I can't go over to Ukraine and say, hey, everybody, please stop what you're doing and let's everybody have peace. Okay. Although I do that in my meditation with thousands of other people who are also, if not millions of other people who are doing that in their meditation. And that has power. Don't ever underestimate that. Simultaneously, in my backyard, I do what I can for the people who are in my backyard. So I take care of myself, I master myself, and then I go out and I pay that forward and I help other people. And then I get up the next day and I do it again, and I get up the next day and I do it again, 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 and I do it again. Sometimes it's tiring. You get tired, sure. But overall, it gives you a deep sense of satisfaction and a deep sense of peace. I showed you the little list that I have in my lap that I'm talking over right now, okay? People that I send intentions to and prayers to and energy to on Wednesdays, at least at this time of this recording, on Wednesdays for like the last 3 years. And people around the world, they send me, this is my condition, this is my problem, this is what I have going on. And I literally go with my mind and with my energy. And instead of like reaching out to shake the person's hand, right, because they're not even present with me where I can shake their hand. And in the distance healing program, I'm not even looking at them on the computer, right? What I have is a name, but that name is connected to their energy, and that name is connected to their DNA, and that name is connected to either that person or the person who contacted me and said, hey, can we send some prayers together and intentions to this other person? So in that way, I take my energy, I connect with their energy. The moment I do that, I'm doing it with you now. The energy becomes more spacious because within each one of us lives a profound spaciousness, but also within each one of us lives a contraction. And the contraction is the ego, And it's the physical, it's the mental, it's the emotional contraction. That's a contraction. The expansion comes when you and I are in heart space together, when you and I are in higher mind, higher feeling state together, meditative state, alchemical state, Qigong practice state. And the longer we stay together and the longer we kind of focus on it, the more that we create that expansive experience. Now, in conclusion here, a little bit, moving in that direction of conclusion, a lot of people will go and they'll have an experience with a healer like myself, or they'll go to like a guru or something. Maybe they go to a retreat over the course of the weekend. They have this profound expansion. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, like, you know, everything closes back down, and they wonder why it's so extreme. It's extreme because, again, you're a multidimensional being. You can nurture your physical, and you can pay attention to your physical, and you can prioritize your physical, but you can also prioritize having some mastery over your mental, mastery over your emotional, mastery over your physical, and you can also prioritize the deep need and the deep desire to awaken the metaphysical within your own being, because you want it that bad, and it's there. But it does require your attention. And just like a plant that you might desire to grow, it desires that you water it and that you nurture it. And if you do, it will definitely change your life, and it will change the lives of those around you. The lower chakras and those lower energy centers, if they're not in balance, then they are a major distraction, attempting, so to speak, to pull you away from the awareness of being a spiritual being. You have to get a handle on that if you desire, and master alchemizing that and making it a priority if you desire for it to be a priority, to experience a deeper connection to your soul, your spirit, your true spiritual path, the awakening of your passion, your service to humanity, which, by the way, is your service to yourself. Until then, you're in the world of competition and fear and survival. I don't like living there. My beloved brothers, my beloved sisters, those of you that tuned in thus far, thank you for tuning in. I hope this was helpful for you. Thanks for hanging out with me in a more peaceful setting than some settings that are happening out there in the world. That's where it begins. Nurture that in your own life. Take a few notes and then see where these teachings lead you next. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you in the next vlog. I hope you are having a wonderful day, and if you're not, it's okay. Practice, practice, practice.